Go for it.
All right.
Okay, so it is beautiful out. I figured we'd take advantage of having the tree meeting outside with some trees in the background. So I'm officially calling the meeting to order. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak as long as they've already cleared it with IT? IT, we have no one?
I don't have anyone. If you'd like to speak, raise your hands digitally. I have one attendee, but I don't have anyone so far. The hands raised.
We have Alan who just joined us. He's with the Tree Alliance. Maybe that's who you're seeing.
No, I'm seeing an actual attendee. Name is JJ. I don't know if you were expecting anyone, but otherwise.
As far as I know, no one has filled anything out to ask to be put onto the agenda or to speak. I mean, the public is absolutely more than welcome to attend any of these meetings. It's when they want to speak that they need to fill out a form ahead of time. Paul, do you know anything about that?
I don't know of anyone that's filled anything out. Delene, have you gotten anything?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so whomever it is more than welcome to say hi and stay on for the meeting. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and move on. I took a look at the meeting minutes from our last meeting. They look fine. Do we have any changes anyone would like to make?
I think just under item 9, just she said should be Miss Kip said. Small thing, but
And that's okay.
just because if you're reading only item 9, who is she?
Got it. Okay, we can absolutely change that.
Okay.
Item number 9 was the tree liaison workshop because we had already last month started to revamp the tree liaison program. So that's the item number that Peter's referring to. Anything else on there? I thought they looked good. Okay, so move to approve.
Motion to approve. I think the minutes have been outstanding. I don't know who's doing it, Eileen, but they've been great.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so item number 4 on the agenda is the capital tree planting program. Paul, do you want to talk about some of the new planting sites for this spring?
Can I
Okay.
just jump in for a second? So there's a message from the attendee. Hi, I was invited by Paul Socknick to observe, potentially be a tree advocate or liaison. And it's Joan. I don't know, Paul.
Joan, okay.
Oh,
Joan
awesome.
McDonald from down on First Street.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome, Joan. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining
Joan.
us.
Thank you. How are you doing, Joan?
Would you like me to bring, I mean, she can't respond to you except via the chat. So if she says anything, I'll read it.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fair enough. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Paul, you wanted to talk about the tree planting program and some sites that you've staked out for this spring?
Okay, well, appropriately, it's great timing for Joan. She is one of the ladies on the list for First Street. Remembering we had promised that we would try and replant down on First Street and try and get at least 10 trees in down there. Right now, it looks like with what we did last year at 39 First Street, we'd be about 7 trees. So we're still looking for some more. And there is one down at 21 First Street where we're not going to be able to get a tree in that area. So we're looking at doing a shrub. The Rosa rugosa is what the gentleman had asked for, and it looks like it would work in that area. We've got other locations that we're doing, the beach. We've also got the trees at 172 Main Street, as well as the trees up at 69 Wilton Avenue. that will be restored in the planters there that we had talked about. Erica and I went out last month after the meeting and looked at those, and the gentleman up at 69 Wilton Avenue was very adamant that he wanted new trees in those planters and not to be moved. The other ones we did, obviously, Don, we mentioned last month, we've already got them in the ground for 97 Washington Street, the two schools, Kendall and Brookside, as well as the 3 Oak Hills that we were doing there. So all totaled, and we got one more, 2 more Coosa Dogwoods on Cabaret Road. The trees that are part of the grant at Ludlow Park that the city will be doing as a participating portion of it, 3 maple trees. And Ken Hughes from Rexon Park is going to add 1 more additional tree for a total of 4. So all totaled, we'll end up doing 23 plantings this spring.
Great.
So,
That's
Paul,
great. So Paul, can you just take a really brief minute and just explain why something like a bush versus a tree would be a good selection for 21 First Street?
Okay. That area has a 3-foot snow shelf, and it's right at the end of 5th Cove Avenue. So if you come up Cove Avenue and at the intersection of First Street and you were to drive right across up on the sidewalk and into the building, basically, you would come to 21 First Street. But the problem is at the building there are several businesses that have windows with advertising for their businesses on the windows. So number 1, we're going to end up blocking the signage for the businesses. Number 2, there are some wires in that area. And number 3, it's only a 3-foot wide snow shelf. So rather than try and cram a full-size tree into the snow shelf, where we've been through in the past with Rich's guidance over the years, Peter's over the years, that the trees don't do well in that narrow snow shelf. We tried to do a shrub to at least get them some kind of greenery in that area versus nothing at all.
Great, great. No, it sounds like a great compromise. Thank you.
So just question on the Wilson Avenues, Paul, Wilton Avenue and Main Street, the Quans and Cherries. Are these guys gonna sort of take on watering them? I mean, when you
Yes,
spoke
they
to them,
will.
I mean, that's the key issue for those trees, because without the watering, they're gonna end up just the way they are, dead.
Well, I don't know. I think Paul spoke to the folks at Main Street, but Peter, I was with Paul when we went to Wilton Avenue and spoke to the owner there.
Right.
And he was very gung ho about having greenery out there. He really liked the planters that help define his space. And he has a customer who is a landscaper, and he, after the trees go in, the gentleman that frequents his lunch spot is going to put some plants around the base of it. So I know just based on the conversation with him that he for sure would be taking care of those 2 on Wilton.
I mean,
I don't know,
that's-
Paul, if you can speak to Main Street, because I didn't speak to anyone there.
Yeah, because most people don't realize that rain doesn't do it for those planters. I mean, they just don't recognize that they just don't get enough water, particularly in July and August. January.
He said he was going to take care of them. And then the business over at 172 Main Street, the other 3 there's 4 in that area. 3 of them are doing well. That 4th one needs to be replanted. So that was going to be replanted also. And I talked with Homestead about that. Just as a FYI, with the cherries, Olmsted, and maybe Peter and Rich, you can kind of chime in if you have anything to say about this, even Alan too, if you got anything. They told me that right now they're probably going to be able to get the Quonsons, which is what we want, but they said they've had a hard time getting some cherry trees from down south this year, because I guess in the Carolinas, they said that they are so busy down there that they're not shipping the trees north, they're keeping them all down there. And that combined with the cost of fuel going up by $1 a gallon in the last few months, they said that the nurseries haven't been shipping as many north as what they usually do.
Hey, Rich, were those Quonset or were they Oshino?
Oh, those are Quonzons.
Just make sure, because they haven't grown enough for me to tell.
Landscape contractors that have orders for trees coming from Carolina, and they've been waiting over 2 months and they can't find drivers to ship them because everything's staying local. So reiterates what Paul just said.
It is accurate then. Okay, that's good. I'm glad I got another source then to verify that.
Well, if you had to change the tree species, the two on Wilson could be the same. Just try to get the Quonset from Main Street to match the other three.
Yeah, and that's what I would
That's a good
do. They,
point.
they told me if we had to, they could go with the Yoshino instead of the Quonsans. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I mean,
I think so because they're separated from Main Street, so it would be fine.
yeah, if you get one
Okay.
Quonset and just get Main Street done, that'd be great. The two Quonsets and the other planter are fine.
Mhm, mhm.
Yoshinos rather.
Okay.
Okay, nope, that sounds great.
So all total, it'll look like we'll be about 23. I've got one other lady, like I said, Miss McDonald's got to get me her species. And then there is another lady that's asked for another one. And Alan actually put her together with me, Claire. And we just got to get her species and that would be it. And it'd come to 23 total for the season, which is more than I thought we were going to get.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's her.
Finalized tree list for 2021 tree planting contract. Oh, that's the RFP.
I just need the input with the final native or non-native. I've got all the species. And if we can get that back, we'll try and get that as soon as possible so that we can get it out.
That would
to the
be
street.
me holding Paul up, so I'll get that to him tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we did speak about that last meeting, and we were gonna get things to Paul by a certain date, so maybe we can get it to him. Is tomorrow okay, Rich?
Yeah, tomorrow is good. I'm deficient on that.
Tomorrow or Friday, by Friday.
Friday is fine.
Friday's okay. For some reason, I thought it was already Wednesday.
Friday's fine, because I know next
be-
week when I'm back in
we'll
the
do
office,
Wednesday,
I will
don't
get together with purchasing and try to get to them on Tuesday or Wednesday. So if I have it by Friday, that's perfect.
So Alan, if you're there, if you had specific native species that you wanted to see on that list that are not there, this is the perfect opportunity to get that to, Paul sooner than later.
Yeah, that's great. We started a list in our organization so we can collaborate together and make sure the lists are well corresponded. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I'll just match them up. I've already got a spreadsheet set up and I just have to drag any new ones in and native or non-native trees and shrubs to the right category and we're ready to go.
Okay, good.
Awesome. Okay.
I can just.
Update for the Tree Summit planning meeting. So Paul and I attended about a 3-hour meeting on Friday. That would have been the 21st, is that right?
Yes. And we're with Rich too.
Okay,
also.
Rich was there as well. Sorry about that. I was in the midst of some kind of an allergic attack, so I claimed temporary insanity for part of that meeting. The meeting gathered together, I would say, a good 15 plus people that represented Common Council, various departments at the city of Norwalk, such as DPW, zoning and planning. And it also included a few selected folks from environmental organizations within Norwalk that included the Tree Alliance and the Norwalk River Watershed Association. And we discussed some of the tree planting programs and how we can facilitate communication amongst all of these different entities so that no one operates in a silo and we don't reinvent the wheel and we kind of work collaboratively and understand what the other organizations are working on so that efforts are not duplicated. I'm sorry, Alan, of course, was there as well. If you wanted to add anything, Paul or Alan?
Everything went well, and it will be a good thing where we can pull everybody together and get on the same page with some of the different projects that are going on so that we can make sure that they're all coordinated properly and it's just set up to begin with.
Was
and we're
anyone
ready to get.
taking minutes at that meeting?
I think Lisa was taking minutes on the side because I saw her scribbling stuff down all over the page while she was doing it. And I jotted down some stuff too. So there was a couple of people that were taking stuff, but I don't know if there was an official minute taker, but I have a funny feeling that Lisa's gonna put something together and send it around after.
That would be great. And when that happens, let's make sure we share it with the rest of our TAC committee members.
Yes, well, I also like the idea of basically being able to try and get the lists together now. It looks like out of that product, we may get some volunteers and try and restart the tree liaison program as we had talked about in the last few meetings also here. And maybe one of the things, and I didn't get to say it the other day, a really good thing is to try and get together with the Coalition of Norwalk Neighborhood Associations, because that's one of the groups that we did have people from before. And if we can start getting some more people from CNNA, they have 26 neighborhood groups. If we can get 5 or 10 of them, that would be great. And then it would be nice if we can also coordinate it so that we can get lists of trees, as we've tried to do in the past, put together for programs.
It's funny you mentioned that. I actually already reached out to the Friends of Cranberry, since that's the section of Norwalk where I am, and started a nice conversation with the folks over there. So yeah, I mean, there definitely, and one of the things that Paul is referring to is that, you know, Louisa, for example, has a pool of volunteers, and Paul would like to get someone particularly over the summer to continue some of the GIS mapping of the trees that have been planted since 2018, which was the last time when that list was updated, or when that program was updated. So if Paul can connect with one of these volunteers, we can get that program up and off the ground and fill in the gaps for the last 3 years of tree plantings. Okay,
Alan,
great.
what were your thoughts, Alan?
To see such interest and concern with the Norwalk's canopy. So I think it was a great first step.
Right. I mean, everyone is referencing the WestCog study for that. But yeah, I agree, Rich. You know, at the end of the day, we all have the common goal of increasing the tree canopy in Norwalk, decreasing impervious surfaces, trying to go with natives when and where it makes sense, and you know, working collaboratively towards that goal.
Alan, what were your thoughts?
I thought it was really outstanding. I think that it showcased and highlighted the work that the tree advisory committee's already been doing forever. And it helped all the other organizations gain better visibility into what is already happening. And I think it helped the nonprofits, environmental nonprofits, figure out where we fit. And then it sort of put the onus back on Public Works to see how to coordinate and become the overarching connection between all these various entities. So I really just thought it was outstanding. I mean, obviously, the actions that come from it will be better than the talking that we did, although the talking was great. But I think it was really an awesome step. I thought it was collaborative. I thought the dialogue was healthy. I think people were free to speak their minds. No one was told to stop talking. It was great. It was really excellent.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
Hey, may I just make a comment? It looks like Joan has a few things that she put in. Can I read it or?
Absolutely.
Okay, so she says, I couldn't respond to Paul's emails/phone calls in the past week, but I'd love to have a tree planted at my place, 35 First. I'm also happy to knock on doors. What's the new deadline for ordering trees? And the other thing is, please tell Paul to make it 21 trees and I'll take whatever one you have. I don't have to order anything specific. I'll take anything for 35 First Street.
Okay. You know what? I think that sounds like maybe an offline conversation with Paul so that he can show Joan some of the choices that we have and she can make or they can together make a better informed decision about location and the right tree for the right place. Sounds fair? Paul, you're muted.
Yep, definitely. That'll work out great. Matter of fact, if she's available after the meeting, I'll call her after the meeting tonight or first thing in the morning, whatever's best for her.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you, guys. That brings us to agenda item number 7, update the 2021 Arbor Day celebration. There was a fantastic celebration at Oak Hills Park that included 2 elementary schools. Paul, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Okay, as we mentioned, the planning for everything actually worked out well. We had 45 people attend this year, which for a non-school site, I was really surprised because I had one person tell me they expected 5 people, which 45 people was a really good turnout. We ended up taking care of the trees at Kendall Elementary School and Brookside Elementary School. We had Eversource was a big player this year. They gave a $1,500 grant to plant 2 more trees to the city, as well as the 5 trees that they donated. And Public Works, the city, and TAC planted 3 trees there. So we ended up with 10 trees being planted this year for Arbor Day, which is probably the most ever. And Eversource really stepped up. Like I said, they did give us the 5 trees, the grant, and they also gave us all of the packing information for the bags for the stress balls, the plan before you plant, acorns that went into them too for all of the kids in the school. So there was 300 of those. And then Olmsted, as usual, stepped up and bagged all of the seedlings for the 300 seedlings, as well as all of the other gifts that went to the children, and bagged all of those free of charge. So it worked out really well. Dr. Estrella was there from the Board of Education. So it tied everything together between the schools and Oak Hills and Eversource.
That was great. And it was a nice compromise because understandably, the elementary schools didn't want anything in person because of COVID. And so Paul was able to kind of still have the students and the school system feel that they were involved, even though it was more remote.
And the Oak Hills Nature Advisory Committee was part of it too, because we had it on the Great Lawn where they have their area there too. So they were a big part of it too. And we're very happy to see what took place with that also. And then Oak Hills helped participate too.
Yeah, there were some really great photographs taken. We're following up, I think, with Josh for some publicity, if we can get some more out of that. And I'm going to feature the celebration in our newsletter.
And Kathy Liaison also said too that Oak Hills is going to add a few more trees. That Eversource is going to add a few more replacement trees for the ones that were cut down also. So they still owe us that in addition to everything else that they did too. And they're working on that.
And you're going to keep them accountable for that, Paul?
Yes.
Okay.
I asked them for 16 trees originally. They originally said 5. They upped it to 3. They upped it to 5 in addition to the ones they still owe us. And Alan, thank you for putting together the grant application. And that was like a real crunch because it had to be done within a few days and they would not accept it from the city or the TAC. It had to come from the 501c3 nonprofit with the Tree Alliance. So Alan took care of that. And the grant was because of that application that he did too. So thank you, Alan.
Good job.
Thank you, Paul.
Great job. Okay, update for some grant applications. So as you know, we got the National Environmental and Education Foundation grants. We're working with Parks and Rec to put in additional material that the grant does not cover. So Parks and Rec was great, almost matching what we were going to do. And so at the end of the day, we're putting, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 trees in Ludlow Park and 2 of the maintenance-free all-weather benches, which are quite a bit more money than I thought they were.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, so so 4 trees and 2 benches, which is literally twice as much as we thought we were going to be able to do because Parks and Rec stepped in and said they would kind of grant match with us and work with us on that. So Ludlow Park's going to be a really great little project. When we set the date for plantings, we'll let everyone know. They're going to be larger size trees, so we don't need volunteers to dig holes or plant anything, but it would be nice to have a small community event where people can see how instrumental the City of Norwalk, the Advisory Committee, Parks and Rec is in helping to keep these public spaces beautiful and tree lined.
Erica, do you want one of the trees partially planted? We've ordered all 4 trees now and they'll be coming soon. And as soon as I have a date, I'll let everybody know. But do you want one partially planted like we do for the Arbor Day celebration, or do you want all 4 of them totally planted?
We can do, we can leave one partially planted to maybe have an educational program around it. And I might be so bold as to sort of volunteer Rich as the educator at that. So make
That'd be
sure
fine.
whatever date Rich can make it.
Okay, I'll make sure they do that. And if, or you want to have an actual ribbon cutting thing, or do you want to, how do you
No, it
want to do
doesn't
it?
have to be. It doesn't
No?
have to be
Okay.
that formal at all.
Okay,
I will tell you this though, when Paul and I went to Ludlow Park to, kind of survey the area and figure out where trees and where benches could go and where it made sense, I was absolutely blown away with how busy that park was. And it was a day during the week. It wasn't even a weekend. So I think this is going to be really well received and really in a very high visible, high traffic location.
yeah, I was really surprised. For a Wednesday night, that place was packed.
It was packed.
And what trees are we planting?
We're gonna do 3 red maples and then an oak tree. Right now, they have the Bradford pears down at the, what would be the north end of where we're gonna plant. So we're gonna try and get some bigger trees in there. And then Ken wanted a larger tree near the bleachers too, to shade the bleachers for people
Mhm.
watching the games. And it was used to
Bleachers
be
are
a large tree there
completely,
before.
yeah, they're completely exposed. If anyone's down at that park, the bleachers look like they were just kind of thrown in the middle of this open area. And so they're really exposed to sun, wind, anything. So a tree there would actually be really great.
We know
And from what
Bradford
Ken
pears are
says,
not-
it wasn't like that. There was a large tree there that ended up dying over the years and having to be taken down.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Peter, did you want to say
Well, the
something?
Bradford pears are not long-lived, so, planning on for the replacement is important.
Right. So yeah, so I think it was 3 maple and 1 oak. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. The second grant that's on here was a Bank of America Arbor Day Foundation grant that was applicants were eligible only if they had earned Tree City USA status. So we were eligible to apply for this grant. The grant is looking at Madison Street and our favorite Rudner Court. We worked with Darlene Young and the person who is in charge of the homeowners association there. Her name is Sonia. And Paul is following up because we haven't heard anything good, bad, or indifferent. Normally, even if you don't get the grant, you'll get an email saying, we got your application, sorry, kiddo, next time. And we haven't heard anything. So Paul's going to follow up, or he did follow up with a few contacts. And the last email I saw was that email was forwarded to someone else. So hopefully, by the end of this week, beginning of next week, I can't imagine it would take longer than that to continue to snowball through their organization. We should have some answers. So we're a little hesitant to apply for something else right now, because if we get this grant, it is huge and it is an insurmountable number of trees. So if we need to focus our efforts, if we get this on this grant, and then if we don't, then we'll look for something else. But that's why I haven't come up with anything, because if we get this grant, it's going to be a tremendous amount of work, and we're hesitant to have too many fingers in the pie. So so once we hear back, we'll let everyone know, and then that'll dictate our next steps.
So question on Rodner Court, did we do it? I mean, how many trees survived from what we did, what, 3 years ago?
Everything
All of
so far.
them,
All of them, I thought.
all of them,
I think every one.
I mean, it'd be good,
absolutely.
it would be good to know, I mean, in terms of the grant as well, Erica, to have that information.
Yeah, they're all surviving. And the last time I was there was with Rich, Paul, and Cindy when we went to look at the area for this Bank of America Arbor Day grant. This one, though, is not targeting trees within the complex like that last grant. This one is looking specifically at the Children's Learning Center. And we've built in money for an educational garden for them, as well as trees to align the perimeter so that there's a barrier between where these kids eat snacks and play and that road, which is very busy. And also to put some maintenance-free picnic tables in their area. Right now, the tables are in disrepair. One of them is wood and splintering. And so if we get some maintenance-free tables in there, we figured that would be a good thing for the kids also. So this particular portion of the grant is just focusing on kind of that small area, as opposed to before we just kind of spread our dozen trees out everywhere.
I did not hear anything back today at all after the last email. So we called a couple times, emailed once now. And if I don't hear anything before the end of the week, I will call, email again and ask them to please give me another contact so I can get to somebody to talk to.
Sure. Okay, from what I understand, Louise Washer got a couple of grants. I emailed her and asked her for information on that so that I can include it in this meeting. I never heard back, but when we were at the Tree Summit planning meeting, she did mention having earned 2 grants. One of them, I think, was springboarding on some of the work Peter did for Oyster Shell Park. Is that right? Am I?
I didn't touch that, no.
That's what I thought it was.
Oh,
That
okay.
one, and then also down at Woodward again, they're looking to do more work at Woodward.
Oh, and the other park is Woodward Park. So Alan might have more specific information about those 2 grants because I believe he may have been on the grants also, Alan, or just?
Yeah, we are on them, but funny enough, I don't know that much about them. So I
Okay.
did support them, and we are a piece of the puzzle, but we'll have to defer to them for the full picture.
Okay, so hopefully they'll get me that information for the next meeting, and then I can report on it a little more clearly. But there are 2 additional grants in the hopper that are going to, help increase the overall canopy in Norwalk. Okay, so number 9 agenda item is the TAC newsletter. Paul, were you able to speak with IT about the online email?
They mentioned that it would be doable, and we got to get them the information, give them a little bit of a layout of what we want to do. And they said we probably could get something done.
Is there a particular person that I should work with? And then I'll explain what I'm talking about.
I just mentioned it to Joyce Liu, who's the director of IT, but actually I'm gonna let you explain it, and Jeff might be able to guide us a little better too. Because if
Yes. Sure. So, I mean, there are several companies out there that support an email newsletter specifically, as opposed to the paper newsletters of yesteryear. And it's a very particular format that you input the information into. You create your mailing list the same way you would create any email mailing list. So that's not the beauty of the program. The beauty of the program is how it lays out the email newsletter for you. I think the Tree Alliance uses a particular company. It might be like Constant Contact, MailChimp, and a few other is another one. I mean, there are some out there that are really popular, and they range in price per month depending on how many newsletters you send out, how many people you send it out to, how spiffy you want your newsletter to be. And so I get email newsletters from the city of Norwalk on a regular basis. And so I reached out to Paul and I said, hey, if we already have this program, since TAC is affiliated with the city of Norwalk, can we piggyback on the account and use it for us to send out a newsletter a couple of times a year? We're not even talking, something with any great regularity, although depending on how easy and how much information we have, it could change. But can we piggyback on that instead of having to purchase something on our own? And Paul spoke to some folks, and it sounds like it's fine for us to do that. So my question was, who do I talk to so I can give them an idea of the graphics and the length of the newsletter and how many people I want to send it out to, so that we can kind of build that with the city of Norwalk and then have a very kind of easy way to disseminate our information on a regular basis. Does that make sense, guys?
Mhm. Very much so.
Okay.
Jeff, do you know anything about that, or is it something anything that you could add to that, the format that you guys have used?
So I know a couple of departments subscribe to their own third-party email marketing service. So IT ourselves, we don't have anyone that we pay to do that. So health, or maybe the communications department, or redevelopment. I know Constant Contact is one of them. And there's some other ones out there too. The only thing IT does is we whitelist the IPs that they give us, so that they're not getting blocked as spam or something like that.
Right. So Paul, it might just make sense for me to reach out to Joyce myself and explain what it is that we want and see. If not, guys, it's not cost prohibitive, but if we need to walk down that route, then I will get a quote. I mean, we're talking about just a few hundred for the year. I don't know what the Tree Alliance pays. Alan, do you have an idea of what you guys pay for the program? I mean, again, it depends on how often you send it out and how many people, but just to get an idea.
We switched everything over to MailChimp, which is free, so we don't pay anymore.
Okay. All right.
Jeff, then it sounds like it's something that's doable then, Jeff. It's just a matter of what I can do is try and get together with Joyce then. Is she the best one to talk to, Jeff?
Yeah, you could probably start with Joyce, yeah.
Okay, I'll see if I can get Joyce together with you, Erica, and set up a quick meeting and then let you guys go from there.
That's perfect. Perfectly
Erica?
fine. Yes.
Erica, to whom are we sending? Do you have a distribution list?
I have a pretty healthy list of several hundreds of people who all live in the area and have attended, whether it be, my online Audubon Society lecture or food insecurity or different environmental things I do on campus, folks who signed up for email lists when I did the Earth Day presentations in person. So I have quite a decent list of people who have already shown interest in some type of an environmental issue. or a local issue already. And so that's going to be my starting point. The other part of that, which is a really great question, Andrew, is that we're working with IT to have a little sign-in link or like a little sign-in box on our website that says, you know, something like, please send me your newsletter, or please keep me informed. And somebody can just type in their email address and hit send, and then that'll become part of our email list blast as well.
I wonder, would it be appropriate to add, those people who have received a free tree from the city over the years? Paul has that list.
I have their information, I have their phone numbers, but I don't have all their emails. That's the only thing.
Oh, you have some though.
But
Yeah.
some you have. I think that's an excellent idea, because you're right, Andrew. We're going to start speaking to the choir and then branch out from there.
We never really kept a member. I mean, we're not a membership, so we don't really keep a list like that.
Right, which is why I'm going to use some of the stuff that I have from past environmental activities to kind of start a list, at least have people who are local and showed interest in environmental issues, and then hopefully we can add to it. I mean, in theory, it would be fantastic to have every resident of Norwalk on that list so that they can all be aware of what we do.
What can
Also,
we-
I'm sorry.
What can we dovetail off the neighborhood associations for?
And you know what, that's a great idea, because they each have their own mailing lists as well, which is one of the conversations I started to have with Friends of Cranberry, looking for liaisons and talking to people that might want to be on our email list.
I mean, I know that in Silverline, we won't necessarily give you our list because we don't necessarily want people outreaching commercially. However,
Mhm.
we would give you certainly a link to our website, because there's that commercial
Sure.
problem that we protect our members from the sort of marketing, debacle.
Mhm, mhm.
That is one issue with neighborhood associations.
Sure. And one of the things we wanted to eventually have on the website, once we started sending out newsletters, are links to past newsletters, the same way we have links to past minutes and past meeting videos. We would have a link for, archived newsletters. So if people didn't want to be on the mailing list, but wanted to read what was happening, they can very easily go to the site and click on that.
And we can probably talk with CNNA too and see if they have something similar to what Peter's talking about.
Mhm.
A website versus their whole membership list, but if
We
you
would
can
have
get
no
to the
problem
website,
putting
that's
it.
great.
Yeah, we'd have no problem putting that, button on our website.
Oh, that would be great. And that's an idea too, because we do want to protect people's privacy. And so we can absolutely, provide a link for other people to, disseminate to their members. That would be great. Okay, awesome. That brings us to Alan with NTA activities.
Great,
Alan,
thanks.
you with us?
I'm in a car, that's why I've been.
Oh,
Can you hear me okay?
hands-free.
I'm not driving. I'm pulled over. I promise. Great. Well, so it's great to be with you all tonight. Thanks for letting us have a spot on your agenda. We are so appreciative of all that you do. So to highlight some things that the NTA has been working on, we have had a banner year for tree planting at the NTA, which is what we had hoped to do. Last year, we focused on fundraising. This year, we've been planting. So we recently had our first ever tree planting activity with the Norwalk Hospital in honor of Nurses Week. We planted 3 trees and about 15 native shrubs, all native, in their courtyard garden, which was awesome. The nurses did the planting. So it was a volunteer. We got the trees to the location. Paul was there. Mike was there. Anna, Jennifer, many of our board were there.
Rob.
The hospital leadership was there. It was really, really beautiful activity and very special for us to be involved in. Second thing to report is that we have now planted all of the 3rd taxing district trees, which is 28 trees we did this year. We doubled their grant money with our own money. So kind of the biggest year ever. We had some additional and we also planted 13 trees in Itasca just this last in some of the primary corridors on McKinley and in other locations. And Paul was instrumental in getting approval to get all of that done, which was really outstanding. In addition to that, we have planted or supplied trees to 2 homeowner associations on Van Zant and on Heron. And so that rounds us out. I wish I could give you the exact number, but I feel like we're in the 40s so far for this year, which is really exciting for us. Big. Actually, I think we're in the 50s because 28 in third taxing. Yeah, we should be in the 50s. Yeah, worthy of applause.
Yeah, definitely. And it all ties in for the whole program for the city too.
Yeah, it's really, I feel like the coordination is already starting to ramp up, and we're seeing that Paul been helping get these things ready to go. Couple other things to report on. So we have the first ever bonsai course that the Tree Alliance is going to be offering at Fodor Farm here in June. And that will be a really neat event featuring one of our board members, Susan Simmons, who is very trained and has a lot of history and art of bonsai. We were recently given a grant by the Fairfield County Bank. It was great. Got a second grant from the 3rd Taxing District. Not second, I guess, like 7th. It's been a long time with them, so that's great. Additionally, we're planting more native trees on our tree farm at our farm. We're trying to build out a little native arboretum that we can use to show people what native trees look like in our farm. So that's high level. Those are the things that we've been working on, some of the things that we've done in the last 2 months. It's our last meetings. Hopefully it's helpful to get a little longer history there, but we look forward to a lot of upcoming activities and events that we have planned for the fall as well as for next year. Our big push right now is to engage corporate sponsors and continue on our Fairfield County Gives fundraising activity, which has now given us proceeds of over $4,500 2 years in a row. So that's proved the excellent source of fundraising so that we can actually do all the things to do, which is plant trees throughout the city of Norwalk. So that's my report. Any questions or things that I can discuss further?
Hey, Alan, if you could get me a list of all of the locations where the different trees were planted, and then what we'll do is we'll work with Jeff, because I know he was doing some of the stuff from working with him for the locations and the mapping. And we'll start making sure that we've got people to go around and geolocate them and put them into the overall GIS map for the city too, with the same Norwalk Tree Alliance logo versus, and when I mean logo, the green tree versus the lighter green tree for the tree advisory committee.
Yeah, definitely. We'll round it up. I'm more of a keep doing it. There's people on the board who have these numbers, so we can actually get this information to you.
Yeah, if you just send me the locations, and then I'll get an intern or one of Louise's people to go out and start geolocating with the new survey program that'll take the pictures and put it into our GIS.
Great, will do. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other business, folks?
For our next meeting, do you think we would meet actually at Town Hall?
I can answer that question. We would like to, but what I've been waiting is from what I was told when I asked the question, because Erica wanted to have tonight's meeting if we could there.
I tried.
And what I was told when I asked is there, and Jeff might know a little bit about this from IT, it was that they're going to be doing a hybrid type of meeting in the near future where they'll allow the committee members to come in, but still have the Zoom portion of it to go to the public that doesn't want to come in. And what I was told is they wanted to do at least the first Public Works Committee of the Common Council that way before we went into some of the other committees to do that. So as soon as I know that we're cleared to do that, we will.
I think also there was a consideration that people were going to be doing a lot of local travel over the summer, since international travel is still probably not at its pre-COVID height just yet. And so in order to continue to have, attendance at these meetings, at least for the summer, we'd remain online and probably talk about, our August or definitely September meeting back in person. Does that sound about right, Paul?
That's what I thought, but Jeff, do you have anything that you could add to that you may know?
No, I think the hybrid model is still being figured out and in the works. So Larry from our office is spearheading that project. So let's just
Okay.
present know.
So
All
I
right,
think
thank
we
you.
would just plan on our June and July meeting for sure online. And then we'll see what August brings. But I would say at least the next two, possibly next three online. And then come September, we should be able to all meet, safely and properly in person.
We want it to be the day before yesterday if we could.
All right. If there is no other business, I move to adjourn. I need a second.
Second, great meeting. Thank you.
Cindy seconds,
Thank
Rich
you.
second and a half. So great
half.
meeting, guys. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful evening.
Have a great night.
Thank
Talk
you.
soon, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.